In Dominica, there is an extraordinary doctor. And all of our dogs join a call. Hey, this is Sai, and you're watching SAT TV. Big up SAT, big up SAT, big up SAT.
Yo, gang to the Zilla, you're watching SAT Telecom, people, them try, see that, Rasta.
Good evening, I am your presenter, Shana Esprit. Welcome to SAT TV News. Among the major developments, DPSU and government closer to a deal in public workers' salary negotiations, former Cayman Islands premier rebuild as probe widens, Tunisia, Chokri Bilad assassination prompts protest, and in sports, sports division completes successful first day in secondary schools table tennis championships. Details of these and other stories after the break.
SAT TV. Drink your drink. SAT TV. SAT Telecom. SAT TV. Crossfire the bomb. SAT TV. Dominica the norm. TV. Yeah man, SAT TV Crossfire. The people's choice. That's for real. Right.
Welcome back. Father Franklin Coffey, parish priest of St. Anne and St. Paul, says the parish is trying to raise funds to increase the size of the Mahu Catholic Church. Father Coffey added, with Carnival in the air and the beginning of the Lenten season, Carnival is preparation for them where they appeal to people to make special sacrifices. He says a few months ago, they broke ground for the new Holy Family Church situated in Mahu, and it is because of this they decided to launch a $20,000 block campaign.
Now we have tenders out for the foundation and we need 4,000 blocks for that. So this is going to be our next phase, the building of the foundation. And we are appealing to people, especially during this Lenten season, where we ask people to make special sacrifices, fasting and penance and so on. So we're asking them to purchase a block or a couple of blocks, a pallet of blocks, you know. And I believe there's a special block promotion going on at this time, and it closes by September. So we think that this fits very, very well with our campaign.
Father Coffey is personally excited about the renovation of the church as well as its members. Funds will also be raised to speed up the processes ahead. The parish priest mentioned that of the special promotion for blocks will continue until September 2013. Therefore, those who want to purchase blocks can do so now.
Always we ask people, they may either purchase the blocks at Parish Williams or contact us at our parish or any members of our church committee in the person of Mrs. Natalie Sampson, who chairs that committee. Okay, and they can contact us. They may either purchase the blocks and inform us, or they come to us, they can make donations, financial donations, or whatever, or they can just drop off the blocks to us. We have a 20-feet container waiting to store up material. We're in the process also of writing for material food for the poor, because we already have the space, and I think people are wanting to know what is the next phase.
He believes this will be beneficiary for the parish members because the current church is way too small and congested. Presently, praise and worship is being held at the Mahu Catholic Church. The building can only hold up to 400 people, and even then it becomes uncomfortable.
And the place is hot, you know, it's really, really congested. It's always nice to see, you know, people coming out to worship in such huge numbers. And where in other places people are complaining, attendance are going down. And we do believe that if we have a new building worthy of our God, you know, to really worship, many of our parishioners who go elsewhere to worship, St. Joseph, Goodwill, Roseau, I think if we have a place conducive, comfortable, maybe even an air-conditioned site for worship, you know, I think that in itself will draw people. And I do believe I think the building where we worship our God says something about what we think our God is.
Father Coffey says a person's place of worship is supposed to be a specially designed structure or consecrated space where individuals or a group of people can congregate and come to perform acts of devotion, veneration, or religious study. In other news, the Roseau Market will be buzzing with activity for the next few days as the Dominica Carnival Extravaganza kicked off with a special ceremony on Wednesday, February 6, 2013. Public Relations Officer for the Dominica Manufacturers Association, Mr. Sevra McKenzie, mentioned the objective of this initiative is that we are producing and manufacturing, and we have to ensure all our local products are being sold. He said there is an open invitation out to all manufacturers and the producers on the island to join the initiative to get their products sold. Investment Officer of Invest Dominica Authority, Mr. Cheyenne Monell, pointed out that Dominicans especially should take advantage of this opportunity as they are getting the opportunity to purchase directly from the manufacturers.
We import at least 5 times the amount that we actually export, and this does nothing positive for our trade deficit, and it allows more foreign products to permeate our markets and gain preference over our local items, which more or less affects our manufacturing and producing industry. Still in many instances we prefer the imports over our locally produced items, and in many cases we're not even aware that a lot of items are produced in Dominica. Over the next few days, many visitors will visit the Roseau Market and will realize to themselves that products are produced in Dominica, and they will get to interface with the manufacturers themselves.
General Manager of the Dominica Export and Import Authority, Mr. Gregoire Thomas, pointed out that Dexia is happy to be a part of this initiative. However, supporting local products is nothing new to them as they launched similar activities previously. He says patronizing local products is one of the best tools that we have, and we must continue to do so.
We have appealed to the Dominican public to support local industries. We are aware that consumers are looking for quality products. Consumers are looking for products that are price competitive and also in terms of quality are comparable to what exists on the international market. So when we display products and when we attempt to get persons to purchase our products and services, we must always be cognizant of the fact that what we are offering to the market is a quality product and a competitive product. Because one of the things that we have to do in Dominica is to deal with some of the negative perceptions about local products.
He added this is part of a larger campaign where they will be working on a national export strategy. This will focus on exports of products and services and a component of the domestic market that needs more attention. President of the Dominica Arts and Craft Producers Association, Mr. Francis Richards, says that all of the items for sale at the extravaganza are locally made. This shows the talent of our people, which we should have no problem in supporting.
We have the vision that at some point in time, when this thing expands and gets into the mainstream, that we're looking to set up, if possible, what we're calling a craft village. So we're looking around, and it may be that the craft village could be right here, Mr. Dexter, Mr. Manager of Dexter. I'm giving you early notice. We're looking at the Roseau Market to find us a spot that we can set up as a craft village. You come into that area, and you will see local craft being produced 24/7. The DMA has an idea of a craft supermarket where you go wherever else, you go to that particular area, it could be in the same area, and you'll find all the items are made by Dominica.
He is appealing to the public to support what can be called our own in an effort to stimulate the economy. The extravaganza runs from February 6th to 9th, and the last day is the 13th. The Buy Dominica Extravaganza is a collaborative effort of the Dominica Manufacturers Association and the Dominica Arts and Craft Producers Association. In other news, today the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, in collaboration with UNICEF, conducted a bottleneck analysis in the conference room of the Windsor Park Stadium. This was to assess and evaluate the capacity of the education system, including ECE in Dominica. Dr. Wycliffe Ontieno, Chief of Education at UNICEF Office for the Eastern Caribbean area based in Barbados, gave a clear insight as to what exactly the objective of the bottleneck analysis in Dominica is.
We are here for an exercise that is called the bottleneck analysis of ECD and education sectors. Basically, this is just to find out what are the issues in terms of bottlenecks or impediments to attaining quality universal early childhood care and development, as well as quality universal basic education and secondary education. The intention really is to identify what we can call very specific and silent bottlenecks or barriers that affect the full provision of quality education.
Dr. Ontieno stated, once it is understood where the bottlenecks in the system are, then strategies can be designed to address them. Hence, we will be able to respond to the priorities and the needs of the countries. He had this to say.
For instance, in terms of quality education, we ask, why is the quality education not perceived to be the best? Okay, where are the problem areas? Is it in teacher training? Is it in policy development? Is it in, say, instructional issues and things like that? Is it in terms of teaching and learning materials and resources? And once you're able to identify that, then you ask, what are the causes of that? What particular indicators can we use to measure the progress we are going to achieve in addressing these particular areas?
He went on to emphasize that the real goal of the analysis is equity, ensuring that no segment, no sector of society is left out. Dr. Ontieno stated that specific areas that the education system needs to improve upon has already been identified. However, he pointed out that in Dominica and other societies, there are minority groups who may not be equally ranged.
In this case, Dominica's case, I'm not saying it is, it may be like the Carib territory, that in terms of access to quality universal ECD primary and secondary, the region may not be at par with the rest of the country. It could be about some other specific minority groups, like the Rastafarians, for instance. They are a religious group, and that particular group may be excluded or may not be having access to certain services. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just giving this as some of the possible examples. It could be that the provision of education, yes, is free, but then there are certain hidden costs which some sections of the society are not able to make, and this might affect their ability to access education. If it is a question of transport, for instance, do all parents have access? Have the means to provide transportation to their children?
When asked how he would rate the education system in Dominica, Dr. Ontieno said, "We have made significant progress in primary and secondary education. The education system has been criticized for the fact that it does not prepare students for the corporate world." When asked about this is what Dr. Ontieno had to say.
The disconnect between the outside world, the industry, and the school. The challenge for most countries is to find means and ways of making private sector or the industry influence curriculum, influence the content of what is being taught. And this is a problem, as I say, it's across the board, not unique to Dominica, and they are always changing work dynamics. The employment world changes every other day. So there is need for constant dialogue between the industry or the private sector.
The bottleneck analysis, he said, is to be implemented by teachers every day. The challenge, however, he said, is to have a system of constant monitoring. The analysis targets the three subsectors: early childhood education, primary schools, and the high schools. In other stories, SAT-TV News would like to apologize for misinforming our viewers in regards to the negotiations between the DPSU and the government. In our previous broadcast, it was stated that as the two parties had not come to an agreement, a tribunal would intercede. However, this is not so. Although an agreement has not been reached to date, Mr. Later says he is optimistic and a deal will be arrived at soon.
We met with the government, that is the negotiating team, we met with the government last week. At that meeting we took a position, that is the PSU negotiating team. That position had to be discussed with our executive, and yesterday morning we had an executive meeting, and that was one of the issues that dominated our regular executive meeting, which took place, as I said, yesterday.
Mr. Leta says now that the executive have endorsed the position of their negotiation team, the next step is to consult with the members this week. He mentioned once the consultation is complete and they have the support of the members, they will see negotiations are completed.
I will state that we are very, very close to having that matter concluded. Once that is done, the question that you have mentioned of arbitration, we do not see that matter going at that level, going to arbitration. And in some subsequent announcement, we will state exactly why we think that way.
The General Secretary highlighted that although they should be negotiating for the upcoming triennium, this negotiation must be completed before they move to the next.
What our proposal was 2%. Government was proposing 1, 3, 1, and 1.5, and we requested, our last position was 3, 1, and 2. So we are just 0.5% short of what we asked the government. 0.5, that is for the third year.
He said if they do not get what they want when the negotiations end, they feel that they have done well for their members, as they were able to secure a number of non-salary benefits for their members. However, in a recent interview with Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, he had this to say.
Because one has to appreciate that this expenditure is recurrent. It is not a one-time payment. It is a recurrent payment. And therefore, it becomes challenging to meet this commitment. So if we go beyond 1.5, one can say, yes, give 2% or give 3%. But the question is, will you have the ability and the capacity to meet that commitment? And the answer to the question is no. So in respect to the Public Service Union, and I'm not faulting them for negotiating and asking for what it is that they want. It's a matter for them. They have a right to do so. It's a negotiation. But one will recognize that we have made movements in terms of what we offered initially. The Public Service Union asked for 3%. We offered 0. We are now at 1.5. And my hope is that they could meet me halfway, or meet the government halfway, as we've done.
Mr. Skerrit is advising the DPSU that as we are in the new triennium, it is time to conclude this current negotiation and move on to the next triennium negotiations. He added that it is his hope that very soon an agreement can be reached with the DPSU.
Now, if there is no solution in the next few days, agreement rather in the next few days, we will have to invoke the provisions of the necessary law and the appointment of a tribunal to deal with the matter, because there are provisions in the law for this to happen. Our hope is that we do not get to that point, because that point will cost money, it will cost time, and so forth. So if we can avoid this, we should avoid it at every turn. But if we can't, then we have to go according to what the law says. But the fact is, the Treasury at this time, or in the near foreseeable future, cannot sustain anything beyond 1.5. And to do so would be irresponsible and would not be taking the present-day realities into consideration.
In other news, on February 8, 2013, a new Miss Dominica will be crowned, and organizers declare that the pageant promises to be a showcase of talent, intelligence, and stunning beauty, flowing under the theme of Triumph of Elegance. Chairperson of the Quincho Committee, Mrs. Romalda Hyacinth, said the Miss Dominica pageant, Triumph of Elegance, plans to wow Quincho patrons with a show of class featuring 7 Dominican beauties. Ms. Giselle Francis Allen, Head of Marketing and Corporate Communications, Lime Dominica, added the Miss Dominica pageant continues to be a hallmark of our carnival celebrations, and every year 7 brave, young, ambitious women take to the stage. The FC Events Director, Ms. Natalie Clark-Mead, noted all contestants finally secured full and part sponsorship, which significantly boosted their confidence as they continue their preparations for the pageant. Ms. Smith says it was a joy to have all 7 ladies officially sashed at their weekly press conferences, and she hoped this augurs well for the development and sustainability of this prestigious event. She made mention that the DFC are very grateful to the corporate entities that have come forward to support the contestants. Staging the show would simply be a greater challenge without their financial contributions, she said. Guest artists at the show are Dominica's history-making female calypso monarch Tasha P. and promising rising artist Colton T. Colin Alexander Phillip will also make a special appearance along with home musicians The Fanatic Band. Discover Dominica Authority CEO Mr. Colin Piper pledged his full support to every contestant, and all efforts are being made to support the DDA office board members, DFC, and the Queen Show Committee. The National Bank of Dominica continued to show support to athletes as they held their primary schools competition organized by the Sports Division on Tuesday, February 5th. The competition was held in the East Zone and took place at the Layu Park. The teams included the Wesley Primary School, Atkinson Primary, and the Salibia Primary, amongst others.
These were the 5 teams present, and the 2-day event was cut to 1 day as the Concord Primary School did not show. After the end of 10 games, the W.S. Stevens Primary School was victorious with 12 points, winning all their games and without conceding a goal. Salibia Primary School placed second with 9 points. Siniku Primary School placed third with 6 points. Atkinson Primary School placed 4 with 6 points. And Wesley Primary School placed 5th.
Sports officer Mr. Godwin Dorset says athletes have to enjoy their training program or they probably will not stay with it long enough to see results. He added, rather than picking a generic program or doing what their friends do, they should adjust their workout time and intensity so it fits their lifestyle, current fitness level, and allows them to push themselves as needed. For that reason, the most valuable player was selected from each school and awarded for their continued efforts.
Looking at the most valuable player for each school, for the W.S. Stevens Primary School, Ethan James was the MVP. Salibia Primary School, Mitch Jeremy was the MVP. For the Siniku Primary School, Ricardo George was the MVP. Atkinson R.K.B. and Wesley Lennox Leslie was the MVP. Overall, we will give the tournament MVP to Ethan James of the W.S. Stevens Primary School with 10 goals. 3 teams will move to the second round of the National Bank of Dominica Primary Schools football competition. And these schools will be the W.S. Stevens Primary School, Salibia Primary School, and Siniku Primary School.
Mr. Dorset believes that the athletes need to know the value of physical preparation for competition. The harder they work on the field, the more competitive their game. Reading is a discipline like running, he added. It may take some practice, but it will pay off in the end with keen focus and broader knowledge that will help them to stay fit in the classroom. Mr. Dorset described this game as very interesting and fulfilling for the participants.
In some areas, there can be improvement. We see some very good ball coming from the W.S. Stevens Primary School. As you realize, they did not concede 1 goal, so there was a lot of ball play within the school. And I find a lot of development coming from Siniku and Salibia. 2 schools is already at the bottom in the past years, and they are now emerging second and third. So there we see some improvement. I believe lack of play for the Wesley Primary School caused them to stay down below this time.
This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.